This video covers moving on from isometric drawings, talking about getting isometric drawings and making them into orthographic drawings. Now, orthographic drawings are the drawings where you have a front view, a top view, and a side view, and they all line up. And one of the first stages to kind of just help understand this is to draw your object in isometric first, and then it'll help you understand how that will work. So I'm going to use my isometric grid. Remember, the isometric grid, those lines have to be vertical and your other lines go off at 30 degrees. If you use it this way round, it won't work at all. So you need to make sure that that's vertical, but the page I'm using, I'm going to use landscape. So I'm just going to clip those together just to make sure that my paper stays still when I'm drawing those lines on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my example sheet, this one over here, and I might just do one of these shapes. I might do number 22. Okay, so 22, I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 1, I've got 4, 3, 4, 1, 1. And that should give me a starting point. So I'm going to start at the top right here. I can move it up now, so you can all see it. Right, here we go. So somewhere in this section of the page here, I'm going to start drawing it. I'm going to start across here, 2 across, 1 down, 1 this way. So I've got that top section, and then that like goes down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 triangles. And then I'm going to take this line across here that goes 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that goes in 1, and that's obviously going to go back this way. 1, 2. And that goes down 3. 1, 2, 3. And you get the idea how this starts to pan out. 1, 2 this way. That line continues. It actually goes all the way down. We'll discover that in a minute. That goes down 1, comes across 1, and then this one goes across here. That goes 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not quite right. Oh, that's the one. Rub that bit out in a minute. Goes all the way down. 1, 2, 3. Across like that, and then hopefully you can then draw that object the way it's meant to be. So that is the same as that one. It's a bit larger because of the isometric grid that we've got. Now I'm just going to write the dimensions on here. So once again, that is 3, that is 4, that is 1, that is 2. This line here is actually 1, 2, 3. This one's 3 as well. That's a mistake, that's 3. That one's 1 as well, 1 there. So you kind of really start to plan out what your shape looks like. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to really sort of get into my faces. So I'm going to call this face here, if I was to draw a box around the whole thing, it would look like this. So if we have to create that, and you can see, so my main picture is here in bold, and you can see my crate goes around it, and we'll talk in a moment about the faces that you can see. So just so you can see how it all fits in with the object and what we're calling front, back and top, front, side and top. So there we go. So there's my object in dark, but you can see I've got a box around it. This surface on top is the top. This surface over here is the side. And this surface over here is the front. And we're trying to translate those into a drawing that has the top, front and side laid out like an orthographic drawing. Okay, so I'm now going to remove my isometric grid, and I'm going to place underneath it a sheet of squared paper. And the squared paper will allow me to start laying out my drawing. So here's my object that I'm starting, and I'm going to start by working out where my front drawing is and how wide the whole thing is. So this is 1, that's 2, and that's 1. So the whole drawing is 4 squares across. And this way it was 3. So that's the size all the way across that way. And then upwards it's 3 plus the 1, so that's 4 all the way up. So my front view will be a square that is 4 by 4. Now these squares I'm going to call each square half. Okay, so I'm going to draw double squares. I'm going to start right at the bottom right hand corner just to make sure I've got enough space, and I'm going to go start there. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to create that square. And this is just a rough one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally I would draw this with a ruler and make sure everything's really straight and really square. And that is the outside of my object. Now when you come to do this section up here, when you look at this section, I can see that I've got 1 by 3. So I'm going to go, this is where the outside is, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to create that section at the front. And this is the front of these two bits that look like an armchair. Okay, so I'm going to put those bits in, and that is what I would see from the front. What I also can see is I can see that this bit sticks up. So this bit here sticks up by 1 and goes across like this. So my object that I can see from my front view looks like this. And again, I'm just doing this rough. You would do this with a ruler and make sure it's single crisp lines. Now, if that's my front view, and if I looked at the object from that direction, that's what I'd see. I'm now going to work out what my other views look like. And I'm going to do that by taking some construction lines across my drawing. So I'm going to follow my lines across, because your orthographic drawing, all of your drawings have to line up with each other. And that's the way they're supposed to work. So I'm going to draw it across like this, and I'm going to do the same thing upwards towards my top view. And there's a little thing that has to happen. Back in the olden days, you do these drawings with a drawing board, and they'd be quite technical, and you have to be incredibly accurate. Now, one thing to bear in mind, I'm going to draw a 45-degree line here, because the side and the top drawings have to translate through 45 degrees to each other. So once I've worked out my lines, that's my 45-degree line, which just passes through the corners of my grid. So I'm going to draw my side view here. I start it, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 in. I'm going to start here. So I'm going to start drawing this edge here, and that just goes straight down. Then I'll draw the rest of this square that you can see here, and it goes along 3, so that's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to draw that square in, like this. And then, so this object has been rotated like that. So, and then I'm going to need to look at this bit here, and I can see there's this piece here, which sticks up, goes up 1, and across 1, and down 1. So you can see where that object is rotated, you can see the armchair, the arm bits, and then you can see the headrest here. So that kind of, you can see how that works. Now, this translation through 90 degrees thing that we're talking about, I'm going to continue these construction lines upwards to my line that intersects at 45 degrees. And once I move them all upwards, what needs to happen now is, as they meet that line, I'm going to continue them this way. And the measurements between them will be identical. And you can see that that starts to construct the parts that I need for the rest of my drawing. So you can see that I have got a section here, so I can see the top of these arms will be here. And you can see that they go 1, 2, 3. So that's my arm piece that goes along there. I've got another arm piece here. And then I've got this back section here, which I see from the top, and I would just see that as a rectangle that is 2 by 1. Okay, so you can see this drawing now represents the front view, the top view, and the side view. And the next stage is to dimension your drawing. The way this works is your dimensions go off to the bottom or the left of your drawing. So I'm going to first of all start off by dimensioning the bottom of this one, and you would create some extension lines that run from the side downwards like this, and you can then draw a straight line between it, a nice crisp little infilled arrow either end, and you're basically reading what the distance is between those 2 points. And as far as we're concerned, it is 4. Whatever unit that is, that's going to be 4. So I'll write that on top. You might also want to dimension other parts. So you might dimension this section here. Again, it's below the drawing that I've drawn. And you can do dimension lines. If there's not enough space in here, you can draw your dimension lines on the outside pointing in. And then you would write down the dimension, which is 1. Let's do the same thing here as well, because I want to make sure they're the same. Now, you don't need to write in every single dimension, because you can use mathematics to help you understand what it is. So if my overall dimension here is 4, I know this is 1, I know this is 1, then I can work out that this one, by the deduction of mathematics, is going to be 2. But you don't draw too many dimensions on your drawing if you don't need to. Now, you need to dimension some more things. So I'm going to dimension the side of this part. So I'm going to do the overall dimension of the whole object. I'm going to draw my little extension lines here, all the way down, nice little line, filled in little arrow, little infilled arrow here, and then I'm going to draw my dimension on here, which is going to be a 4. Okay, now this section down here will be 3. And we don't write on the measurements, so whether it's millimeters or whatever, purely because it's given that they're millimeters in every drawing. And this one is going to be 3. Now, is there any ambiguity about what I'm going to be seeing on my drawing? So I know that's 4, I know that's 1, I know that's 1, and I can work out that's 2. Does it say on my drawing how big this section is? It does not, so I need to work out how big either this section or this section is, and we'll be able to work it out. So I'm going to draw this one in. This one here is going to be 3, top to bottom. And then you can work out that that is 1. And then the only thing I don't know yet is actually what the distance is between here and here. So I can't draw it above here, so I'm going to draw it on this side, the side of the top view here. And I'm going to draw in here how big this section here is. So I'm going to do my lines here, come from the outside, and write down 1, because that's what my dimension is. And there we go. There we have really easily done scale drawing. If you were manufacturing, you would be able to measure this drawing, understand what the scale is, understand what it looks like, and you should be able to look at these drawings and kind of go, I can roughly guess what it is. The next skill is to take a drawing like this and transfer it back into an isometric drawing like that. Couple little notes. This is what's called a third angle projection. It's just the way you organise the drawings on the page and how you view them. And the little symbol for that is looks a bit like this. And that just represents what that is. You don't need to necessarily know exactly how it looks, but just be aware there's a symbol that represents third angle, and that is an orthographic projection of that object here.